There's a very senior Israeli delegation. It's comprised of the head of the Shin Bet Security Services, Yoram Cohen, Netanyahu's special envoy, Yitzhak Moncho, and the director of the political bureau in the defense ministry, Amos Gilad. All of these people have been conducting the talks with Egypt in the past few weeks, so they already have a good line of communications with Egypt. As you mentioned, the U.S. will be sending an envoy. It won't be Secretary of State John Kerry that seems to be taking a pause from the region, but one of his assistants, Frank Lowenstein, and the UN Special Mideast Coordinator, Robert Seri, will probably arrive in Cairo later on today, too. And what's going to happen is back-to-back negotiations in one venue, in one hotel, with the Egyptians jumping between the Palestinian delegation and the Israeli delegation. But they have a difficult job ahead. As you mentioned, Hamas is demanding a lifting of blockade. That is the achievement they want to bring to the Palestinian public in Gaza. Israel is willing to consider easing some of the restrictions on the Gaza Strip, mainly going back to the November 2012 understandings, which have some reference to the fishing zone and some opening of the border crossings for transfers of goods and people, but still is insisting that it has to be linked to disarmament of Hamas and to demilitarization of the Gaza Strip, and that is something that will be very difficult to implement. We might more likely to see an agreement between Israel and Egypt on a long-term cooperation to demilitarize the Gaza Strip. Yesterday, there was a very long security cabinet meeting of the Israeli security cabinet meeting. It was 6 hours, and even though the Israeli prime minister official talking point has been that Hamas has surrendered and Israel is arriving at the negotiations as a winner, some cabinet ministers are still skeptical that these negotiations will actually yield some tangible results. They understand that Hamas has to present a real achievement, and it's not clear that this will come out after these 72 hours of negotiations that started yesterday of the ceasefire. In any case, the Egyptians are already getting ready to extend the talks, and we're getting reports from Cairo that the Egyptian delegation has already suggested to extend the ceasefire in another 48 hours. That sounds good on the paper, but the problem is to both the Palestinian public and the Israeli public, if we get into a dynamic of extensions of this formula, quiet towards quiet, one may ask, was this all death and destruction worth it if we're back to the same situation that we were 5 weeks ago?